Hello, this is George Hutton, and you're listening to the Mind Persuasion Podcast. Today we continue our study of money brain. For more information, please visit mindpersuasion.com/money-brain. In today's episode, we'll be talking about something called sentence completion. Sentence completion, Part 1. In this podcast, we'll go over a basic strategy for finding limiting beliefs. In order to change to more positive beliefs, we first got to find the negative ones. This is difficult. There are many variations. First, we'll need to understand exactly how and why limiting beliefs were formed. This will help us to understand why they are hard to find and hard to reverse. Finding and reversing limiting beliefs is, without a doubt, the most important task to creating a life of financial security and independence. Without uncovering the hidden beliefs holding you back, no amount of education or luck or inventions will help. Belief formation. If a child touches a hot stove, the child will learn very quickly that hot stoves are dangerous. This represents a very healthy learning system. This helped us way back in the day when we lived in a dangerous and harsh environment. We didn't have a lot of time to sit around and do extensive experiments. When we thought something was dangerous, it was much better to hardwire that in as if it were dangerous into our brains. Those ancient humans that didn't have this better safe than sorry learning process built in didn't survive very long. Even if you were wrong 9 times out of 10, having a better safe than sorry learning function kept you alive that 1 time out of 10. A person with a "I'd better check just to make sure I'm right" learning process would be killed that 1 time out of 10. Over the long, slow process of natural selection, the only folks left over were the ones who assumed things were dangerous if there was only a small chance they actually were dangerous. So when a young child touches a hot stove, this ancient programming creates a very strong connection between the stove and danger. Stoves are obvious. They look different than anything else. But as we discussed how general money beliefs are slowly learned, they are vague. If you are still afraid of a stove as an adult, it would be straightforward to remove that fear. Adults that have phobias of elevators or clowns can get rid of them relatively quickly. It's easy to see if somebody's a clown or somebody isn't a clown. But when thinking about money, there are many different situations when they come up. So instead of just getting rid of a few negative beliefs, we must find and reverse as many as we can. Since these are all built in from an ancient strategy that was designed to keep us safe, our subconscious is not going to let them go so easily. So the process will not be pleasant. We'll need to start slowly and ease our way into it. Since many of these negative money beliefs were formed before we learned how to speak, they exist on a deep level. By using linguistic techniques, we can only approximate the negative beliefs. As we grow older, we tend to pile on several different grammatical statements that seem to match with these deep pre-language feelings. This means that these deep pre-language beliefs will be associated with several grammatical expressions. The more of these grammatical expressions we find and destroy, the more we'll destroy the underlying pre-language belief. Sentence completion. The easiest way to find these linguistic expressions which approximate the pre-language beliefs is something called sentence completion. This will take a bit of time, but it is very effective in finding the hidden beliefs keeping us from getting what we want. The flip side of the time and effort is that once we identify the negative beliefs, we are much closer to financial success. Step 1. The first step is to think of something you want, but don't think you'll get or don't know how to get. This must be something that isn't in the form of a wish, but something you put through the filter of you actually doing something and then getting it. Something easy would be getting a job like the one you have now, or even a job below your level of qualification. For example, if you thought about getting a job at your local fast food place, that might seem silly. That might seem like a waste of time, but it wouldn't seem impossible. If somebody said they'd give you $50,000 on a dare to get a job at your local hamburger joint, for example, you wouldn't worry about getting hired. For this process, you need to think of something that you don't really think you'd be capable of, not because of time, but because of deep and personal lack. For example, let's consider the following idea. Make $250,000 in commissions a year selling real estate. This is something that most people wouldn't feel competent doing. Sure, they might get a real estate license, you might get a job at a real estate agency, but most normal people wouldn't believe they could actually sell that much in real estate. It's very important that you imagine going out and doing this now, not after learning about some mythical, magical process that doesn't really exist. The idea is to come up with a statement that you would like to be able to do, but when you think about it, your honest appraisal is, I could never do that. You are looking for things that you would like to do, but are limited not by education or time, but by something that you could never do based on your current level of non-technical skill. This also has to be something that you are physically capable of doing. For example, you might have a dream of starting for the NBA, but if you are in your 60s and are 5'4" and have 2 bad knees, then that's not something that is limited by your beliefs. That's something that's limited by your physical state. Since this is a podcast about money, consider thinking of a money goal that you would like to achieve, but when you say it, the only way you can imagine it coming true is by some stroke of magic or luck. For example, consider this statement. I'll be a millionaire someday. Say this to yourself. Say it out loud. Give it a real, honest belief test. Do you believe it is possible? Or do you only hope it happens someday? Be careful, as many of us have been tricked into thinking that hope is a valid strategy. Take an honest look at your life in the past 5 years, and take a look at your life in the next 5 years. Based on what you've done, based on your life now, based on what you are likely to do, how likely does this statement feel when you consider it must only happen due to your skills? Either the skills you possess now or the skills you can actively learn on your own in the future, not magical skills that will come from outside of you. When you put this statement through these filters, how likely does this sound? I'll be a millionaire in the future. The goal is to find a statement that you have trouble believing. This part is difficult. It feels terrible to admit that you won't ever be a millionaire. It's much easier to pretend you believe it so you don't have to admit any shortcomings even to yourself. Once you find a statement that when you say it as honestly as you can, you find doubt, then we're ready for the next step. I'm George Hutton. Thank you for listening to the Mind Persuasion Podcast. For more information, please visit mindpersuasion.com/money-brain. I look forward to speaking with you again soon.